Hey guys, so let's talk about last night's episode of Scandal. I must say, you guys, I was waiting for the cliffhanger, right? Because the preview from last week was all like, don't miss the last 30 seconds. And this was supposed to be like the OMG moment of the season. And it was a good episode, don't get me wrong, but I definitely felt like the cliffhanger, I was a little disappointed in it. So I'm guessing that Jake is off his rocker. I mean, are we all in agreement there? I mean, after last week, it really looked like, B613 is going to taint him and drag him down into the dirt. But this week when the episode opens, right, this man is sitting in the dark, giving a monologue about how crappy his life has been. And it was just kind of scary. But have no fear, because I've got my What Would Olivia Pope Do bracelet on, and we are gonna handle it. So let's just go ahead and talk about the cliffhanger. Who got shot? I know who my money is on, you guys, right? But when you finish watching this review and you leave your comment down below, make sure you tell me who you think it's gonna be. Is it gonna be David Rosen or is it gonna be James? And who you want it to be. Part of me feels like it's gonna be David Rosen, but if I had to choose, I want it to be James. Basically, these two Watergate wannabes managed to stumble their way into a secret meeting that seems awfully out in the open. So it's the two of them, the reporter and the lady from the NSA, right? Earlier in the episode, Cyrus goes to Jake to try to get him to deal with the situation. He wants Jake to kill Sally Langston, but Jake does not seem to be going for that. But in the end, though, it is Jake who shows up on this street. He's got a gun and he starts shooting. He kills the reporter, the NSA agent, and then he turns the gun on David and James. And I guess next week we'll find out who gets shot. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be dying or not. I really kind of hope not. But if they need to die, it should be James. I was so annoyed with James in this episode too, you guys, right? Because there comes a point when Cyrus actually finds this bug that James bought. And here's another life tip for you. If you're gonna buy a bug, let's not buy it from the discount retailer. I mean, this bug basically starts to hum and do all kinds of crazy things, and that's how Cyrus finds it. So of course he realizes that James is bugging him and has been listening to him, and he does the opposite of what you think he's gonna do. I think we're just so used to Cyrus being angry, and we get that he knows that he really screwed up. So when he goes to James, he really just apologizes, and it's look, I love you, do what you need to do. And that's really all James wanted, right? James was not in it for the justice and American way. James was in it because he wanted to be apologized to, and he was okay with that. Let's talk about Quinn, who was the second most annoying person in this episode. So she's gonna work for B613 is what we get by the end of the episode. She starts off as the receptionist at their cover business, Acme Paper Company. It was a bad episode of The Office. But pretty quickly, Jake ends up using her, sending her to break into OPA. She manages to break into Olivia's safe, which of course we get ain't all that hard because several people have done it. And she steals some files for Jake. So we really are getting a different side to Jake, right? I really do think that he cares about Olivia. But at the same time, he's not going to take orders from her because obviously she asked him to not use Quinn. But we totally get that he's going to use her because it benefits him. She also had this little moment, right, where she tells Jake, don't trust Olivia. She'll tell you that you're part of her family and then she'll just toss you out, that type of thing. So we pretty much get that Quinn feels betrayed by Olivia. So I'm hoping that that gets repaired soon. Speaking of Jake, let's talk about Jake and Olivia because they had a couple of interactions in this episode, to say the least. There was a moment too where she shows up at his apartment after she finds out, what Cyrus has done and that Sally Langston killed her husband. And she's upset, but she just wants to pretend with Jake. But of course, pretend doesn't last all that long. And before you know it, we're playing the real thing. Not sure what exactly happened in that scene. Did they just kiss? Was there more that we just didn't see? I don't know, but obviously there was some sort of physical touching and connection. One really interesting part about that scene between Jake and Olivia was that moment when he really asks her to run away with him, and it was said in an almost kind of joking yet desperate manner. Yeah, I just feel like Scott Foley was winning with the acting in this episode. After he says it, it's he's waiting for her reaction, and then at one point he even says run away with me, save me, if I stay here, this is going to eat me up. And as the episode continues, you really start to kind of see that happen. It was really sad. Now, Sally Langston is just absolutely and totally breaking down. The whole scene with her at the beginning of the episode, during debate prep when she's just freaking out. During that scene too, you totally get that as much as she wants to kind of rail against Fitz for being immoral, she's really talking to herself because the guilt of what she's done is really starting to press in on her. Very quickly, she kind of decides that she is going to just confess what she's done. She's going to do it at the presidential debate because she feels like God has stopped talking to her because of what she did, and so she's just going to confess it. I thought that whole storyline was really interesting. I will tell you guys, as someone who is a Christian, I get really annoyed with the wacky Christian storyline, because I feel like it happens a lot. I feel like if there's a Christian on a television show, they are usually crazy psycho Christian person who's talking about the devil making me kill people and other things like that. I don't know any Christians like that, thankfully. But I did think it was really interesting because this progression for her as a religious person, was here, I did this awful thing. I want to blame it on the devil instead of realizing that I did it myself. But, that guilt really kind of starts to eat away at her. And I think a lot of people do the whole misplacement of guilt as well. She wants to put that guilt onto Fitz and all that he's done instead of kind of accepting what she's done as well. In the end, though, she doesn't confess. The debates happen. Fitz ends up throwing her a bone, because Olivia gets Fitz to kind of throw the debate a little bit. And Sally takes his little stumble as a sign from God. And before you know it, she's kind of off and running. Let's talk about Olitz in this episode, you guys, on the whole. So during this episode, Olivia actually learns about what happened to Sally Langston's husband. David plays her the tape and she starts to realize what Cyrus has done. And then there's that moment where you get that Olivia has to decide what's she gonna do. Is she gonna do what Cyrus wants and not say anything to Fitz? Or is she gonna keep her promise to him and no more lies? And really, is she gonna learn from what happened in Defiance? I was excited that she did learn. She did call, which was kind of taking the coward's way out as far as I was concerned. She called Fitz and was just kind of like, hey, do you remember what we said in Vermont? We're not going to lie to each other anymore. And then she tells him. Later they have a face-to-face and she really tells him look, you got to get your head out of the clouds. This is what happens. This is what the truth looks like. I'm not going to lie to you, but here you go. She goes on and she tells him look, there is no Vermont. We have to stop trying to live in this kind of future fantasy of where we're headed, and we have to deal with what's in front of us right now. We have to live in the now. And that's kind of a theme that I've been feeling in their relationship for the past couple of episodes, because Fitz is always really quick to kind of someday, and Olivia has really just kind of been cutting that off. I think you have to have a good balance though, there is nothing wrong with looking to the future, but at the same time, if you are so focused on what's coming, so focused on Vermont, that you're not dealing with what's, kind of right in front of you, then that's a problem. So yeah, you guys, I thought it was an interesting episode. Obviously, we were missing a lot of people. Last week during my scandal chat, I think it was Tresha who mentioned, if you think about it, how many actors there are that are on this show, how many storylines, there's no way that everybody can be in every episode. So I totally get that. We missed out on Melly and what's going on with her and Harrison and Mama Pope. So I'm hoping we'll see more of them next week. Don't forget to tell me who you think got shot and who you think should have got shot down in the comment section below. And yeah, I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.